Okay. All right. So while everyone is hopping on and I'm doing my Palo Santo, I wanted to, and you guys can start like commenting if you want a reading, claim your spot while I'm doing this. But I wanted to share because it's interesting. It's come up in conversation with different people. And whenever I'm like noticing certain themes, I'm just really compelled to like share them and talk about them. But I filmed today, because I do YouTube videos now twice a week. I filmed my video without makeup on, and I had brought my makeup with me, and after some thought and some conversation, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to go live like this without my makeup on, just how I went through the rest of my day. And the reason that I mentioned this is I'm sure that there might be some of you that also create content for your businesses. And I had a really good conversation with a friend that dated back a few years ago about how one of the things that at the time, maybe longer than that, but in the beginning of my business, I was really held back by creating content because I always felt like I had to get like super ready and project like, you know, a certain kind of like look or image that went with my business. And I made the decision personally that it can be really empowering for other people as well to just see other people doing their thing like live on Facebook or on YouTube just without makeup on, just as a regular person. So I just decided that the no makeup thing, if this is how I don't think I've done a live without it in a while. So I think it's good that sometimes I'm just showing up on here for you guys the way that I just like am at the park with my son. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. Okay, so I'm going to dive into these. And I know that Chelsea is here because I saw her commenting on YouTube. Okay, so she's pinned someone. Hi, Susan. Hi, Chantel. Hey, Vanilla on YouTube. You're typing your question? Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm going to tune into Susan. Okay. All right, let's dive in. So I'm going to pull it for the area that's bringing you a lot of momentum right now, Susan, because the feeling that I got as I was tuning into you is that there's a lot of things that are picking up momentum where the speed's actually really picking up, and that it's exciting because it's what you've been working for and asking for, but that there's also like this fear, anxiety that comes in like with that momentum. So it's really interesting because it does feel very much like things are aligned and they're moving forward, but that I know you know this too, that those inner critics start to get really triggered as soon as things are moving forward and getting really real. So the card that I pulled for you is on the specific aspect of like what's really empowering you and bringing you momentum right now, because I feel like for you, you need to be really conscious of that and really rooted down in that. So the card coming forward is this King of Earth card. It's talking about a successful time, confidently accepting opportunities that you're offered, and the Midas touch. So this is what I'm pulling for you. So my feeling is that some of this is about today, but also some of this is for things that you need to keep in mind for the future, that there's going to be these people or these business entities, I don't know why I'm using that word, but that's what's coming up, that are going to come to you. And that initially that inner critic, kind of imposter that sometimes hides out within us, is going to come forward and be like, there's no way you're ready for that. You're crazy. Like, you shouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. But I'm really feeling like the message coming forward for you is that you need to do it. You need to take it because you are ready. And a lot of you claiming and saying yes to these things is what's going to continue to bring you more momentum, because after the fact, you're going to be like, oh, well, yeah, I totally did that and I was ready. And I feel like it just gets you stepping into your power even more. And I also want to talk to you about nature and grounding on that note, because I feel like there's a morning routine or some kind of ritual that you do or you used to do that maybe you've like gotten a little bit loose on that. And I just feel like there's an importance right now to really stay within that practice and really ground yourself in that practice, because I think that that's the thing that really sets you up. Ideally, if you could do it in the morning, that it really sets you up for the rest of your day to be saying yes to these things and to really be seeing that they're completely aligned with the path that you're going down. But everything feels really good. I know that anxiety kind of steps in, but it's like the good kind of anxiety that you would only be having, like you're only having it because things are coming true, that things are moving forward, and it's triggering those inner critics. So yes. All right. So who is next? Okay. Hi, Rachel. So just so that you guys know, I have Chelsea that's backing me up tonight, both on YouTube and on Facebook. And she's the one that gets the order going for me and keeps the order going. So next is going to come from YouTube. It's Vanilla Q. Okay, so Vanilla Q is saying, I run a life insurance company. Right now, I'm just doing cold calling. Who or what kinds of businesses should I target? How else can I get new clients? How should I advertise on Instagram? Okay, so I'm going to pull 2 cards. And Chelsea, just as a note, I'm sure because Chantel joined within the first few minutes, she's definitely going to get a reading from Facebook. But Chelsea, if you can just make sure that Chantel from Facebook gets in, because I invited her specifically tonight for something. So she's meant to get a reading today. Okay. We'll make sure we get you in, Chantel. Don't worry. Okay. So Vanilla. There's 2 cards that I'm pulling for you. One is really what the deeper reason why people are working with you, the kinds of people that you attract. And it's not just on a surface level based on kind of what they're looking for and what they're doing, but it's a deeper reason that's really going to help clue you in kind of more to your niche and the deeper reasons. And also an abundance card that's really talking a lot about how you bring abundance in, which might tie in with the marketing things that you're talking about. Okay. The first card coming in is this 9 of Air card. And it's talking about expecting the worst, self-fulfilling prophecies, and sleepless nights. Okay. So I feel like this is more about you. Let me check on this. Okay. So I do feel like this is more about you in terms of client attraction, that you're in that place of being very worried about expecting the worst and things are coming true, because your focus tends to be more on what's not going to work. Or if you're cold calling and you start to get no's, then you start to get in that place of almost like expecting the no's and it comes true. And I'm sure that you notice that, like even with your cold calling, that as you start to get in your head, or if you start to get yeses, that you start to show up differently and that projects differently and you start to get more yeses. So that's something I just want you to be aware of, because I do feel like you're looking at more of the hows and the tactics. And I'm going to take you even deeper than that into your own energy and your belief systems and how that translates and how that pans out. When I pulled a card for you about abundance, it's talking about speaking your mind with confidence, like looking for professional advice and really finding that balance between a mental state and an emotional state as well. So I feel like that's bringing me back even more to that this is really about you, that you're kind of focused on what's the best tactic, how can I market this, how can I strategize, and I don't see you putting enough focus on on you, right? Like putting that time into how can I set myself up today to be visualizing what I want to create? How do I ground myself in the best energy to be showing up to these relationships, right? Even if it's just a quick phone call that you're making, it's still a relationship to actually be moving people towards the outcome that I want to move them towards. And so I do feel like this is a deeper thing, and I want you to start thinking about this a little bit deeper, because I know. So when I talk about grounding, I'm talking to you more about your settling your energy in and grounding in. And there's certain visualizations that you can do. When I do it, I actually really just see a root coming down from my like tailbone and from the bottoms of my feet. And you start to feel really anxious and worried when you feel ungrounded. Other people do it by sometimes just sitting on the ground or the earth or walking outside barefoot. So there's many different ways to do it. In the way that I was talking to you about grounding is that I feel like you're looking at this backwards, which I know is very counterintuitive to the way that we're usually taught about business, but I don't do business like that. I don't run my business like that. And so I'm suggesting that you do it from the inside out, where you actually start shifting and projecting all of these things that you want and really aligning your own energy. And then it starts to happen outwardly, that you start to get the inspiration and the wisdom and these new ideas about which kinds of businesses you should target when you focus on yourself first. So I just want you to start looking at how you're starting your day and what you're doing, because I feel like for you, that's going to be the thing that makes the biggest impact. Okay, so Chantel is next. Vanilla Q, basically expect people to say yes. I think what I want you to do, Vanilla, is really, it's like removing attachment from whether people say yes or no, because you know in your mind that the goals that you have from doing this business, that they're going to come true. And whether that specific person says yes or that specific person says no, that it, in the big scheme of things, that it doesn't ultimately matter, that it's really getting so clear in that conviction and that knowing that your exact goal is coming true. And I feel like this is a whole deep dive topic that we can get into forever. So I'm just going to leave it at that for right now. Okay. So Chantel, I'm going to go to you next. I want to let you guys know as well tomorrow, if you're not following me on YouTube yet, this would be a good time if this interests you, because I just made a video that's going live. That's actually my specific 9-card layout of how I do business readings. So whether you want to start doing business readings yourself, or whether you want to do business readings for other people, it's this 9-card intentioned layout, and it tells you, just like if you were to look up any other card layout, what each specific card means. And it's typically I'm reading like 1 or 2 aspects for you guys, but I think that you guys will like it. I think that you'll want to grab it. And I'm even having a little cheat sheet that goes with it so that you guys can have the layout and start to use it however you want to use it. So yeah, make sure you subscribe on there if you haven't, so you can get that video. Okay, Chantel. Looking for guidance in what path to take. Okay. So I'm not going to actually read from the typical business layout. I'm just going to pull a couple cards for you, Chantel. So let me connect in. Okay. Okay. So before I go to the cards, Chantel, have you been using your pendulum a lot? Because I just feel like there's like I get this image of you using your pendulum, and that you keep like going to it for answers and like confirmation about things. And I don't know if that's something that you're doing, but that's just the image that I get. It might just be that like you continue to be looking for confirmation on this on your path. But I really get that feeling of looking and getting your different tools, going to people around you, trying to get some kind of confirmation that you're not feeling from within. So there's two cards that are coming forward. It's the Chariot card, Archangel Metatron, and it's talking about some self-discipline and willpower. Those are the words that are coming up most. And when I see this card and what I feel about it for you is that there's a lot at play here with how you're looking at things. Like I feel like there's this, I want to call it like our shadow self. this shadow self is coming forward right now, and it seems like it's running the show, because I feel like for you it's almost like as if there's these different, I don't even know how to explain this, so I'm just going to put out what I'm feeling, and I'm thinking it'll make sense to you. But there's almost like these different realities that you step into based on your thinking. And I feel like you're right now, you feel somewhat stuck, but not trapped in the more kind of dark or shadow side of the reality, which isn't necessarily like a bad thing. We all have those shadow parts of ourselves. It feels like for you, it's actually more about kind of getting entrenched in these old patterns, which you have the ability to get out of. You've grown beyond it, but I think it actually might be more related to Mercury retrograde, kind of bringing these things in, allowing you to refine, retune these little places where kind of weeding the garden, I guess, is coming up. This image of like that you have this beautiful garden, but right now there's some weeds that are coming up that are showing you the places where you do need to dive in a little bit deeper. And so I do want you to see it like that and not just focus on the weeds, because it does feel like it's almost like that you're only focusing on the weeds right now, and you're seeing, oh my gosh, like all this work that I put in, and look at what's come of my garden. Like this is terrible. And so I do want you to really just like zoom out right now, because I feel like you're just like so focused in on this like one little patch of weeds. But when you really zoom out and you look at everything from a much more clear perspective, I feel like you actually start to get back into more of your natural home state of energy. This other card that I pulled for you is talking about the power of creativity. And it's interesting because it's, I don't know what butterflies mean to you, but I'm just really tuning in to the butterfly imagery that's on this card. And I feel like it must hold some kind of importance for you. Do butterflies have some type of meaning for you or some kind of significance? Okay. Because what I'm hearing right now is that you typically are very good about kind of tuning into the guidance, about tuning into like asking for questions and kind of hearing it and just being this like open channel for the information. And there seems to be something where you're either not trusting it or you're not asking as often, because I just feel like your guides right now are just talking about how, okay, she's not asking us, like she's not coming to us, like we are here to help, and all she has to do is ask us for those answers. And so I want you to just remember that, because I do feel like everything that's coming up for you now is just related to the past. You got the creativity card twice today. Okay. Yeah. I feel like everything that's coming up, again, it's sort of like, I feel like it's just the energy that's like floating around right now, the Mercury retrograde kinds of things, because I've even noticed that with myself, where there's certain like old patterns that come in, and it's sort of like, wait a second, I thought I've dealt with this. I thought I've grown past, but we always know that our learning and our growth is sort of, it's like a spiral. It's not like that straight increasing line like we think it should be. So I just want you to start seeing it like that, to just shift into that perspective of knowing that it's, that not everything's gone to shit. That's just the perspective that you're seeing it in. So just zoom out a little bit, start talking to your guides a little bit more. And I think that everything's going to be fine. So thanks, Chantal. Okay, so Rachel Ellis on YouTube is next. Okay, Rachel Ellis. Okay. Let me see if Rachel was asking anything. Rachel. Okay, Rachel says, how do I know when it's time to stop and recoup some of the losses? And when I stay after the chaos of making it to the goal, or to start at the beginning again, go to the goal after learning. Okay. I feel like I'm trying to grasp what that is, but I think I know what you mean. I think you're sort of talking about like when to cut your losses. When do you just like keep going? Even if things don't seem to be working, when do you keep kind of trying and pushing versus when do you cut your losses and just start over? I think that's what you're asking. Is that right, Rachel? Rachel, I'm going to assume that's right. Okay. 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 Let's see what we have for you. Okay. So it's interesting. I do feel like things seem to be going overall. It's interesting is that you're talking about kind of like losses and cutting your losses, but it's interesting because of the way that I'm feeling it, it actually feels like why you might feel like that right now, that overall that you have made a lot of progress and that there has been a lot of growth. So it's interesting of what I'm hearing from you and then what I'm feeling. Would you say, Rachel, that where you're at today is like exactly where you like hoped that you would be like 5 years ago, that you were like, yes, like this is what I want. These are all the things that I want in my life. And that most of that you actually have right now, because it actually feels like a lot of progress and growth. But I feel like just because you're so entrenched in it, that you're not like seeing the big scope of the journey. Okay. Well, we'll see what's here with the cards. Because I do feel like a lot of your perspectives on this, they seem to be very oriented more towards the destination than around the bigger journey. So the Archangel Michael card is coming up for you. It's talking about a time of positive change, about things that are stalled and then start to move forward. And that fortune's on your side. The other card coming forward is talking about that there's more going on than meets the eye, and that some of this is just like a timing thing for you. So whenever Archangel Michael comes up, it really rings true with purpose. And so I do feel like even though you're kind of coming in and feeling this sense of being lost, of being disoriented, it almost feels like it's because there's like too many options for you, that you're sort of kind of going round and round in circles because there's too many choices, that you're almost like trying different things and not like fully committing to them, and that none of them feel like you've done them like long enough for you to really be gauging whether there's success or not. So Archangel Michael is really ringing true with purpose. So the feeling that I'm getting is that you don't yet have your strong enough connection to purpose, like to your why. And if you do, it's something that there's something with purpose that's coming up. And I think that when you're looking at these different paths and the decisions that you make, it almost feels as if it's being guided more by by ego as of right now versus something deeper like a purpose, which is much bigger than just you. And I do feel like once that clicks in for you, that a lot of clarity starts to open up. And then I feel like it almost feels like anxiety comes in when I start to think about this card about timing. Does it sometimes feel for you, Rachel, that it's like a race against the clock? Like that there's like, I've got to do this now. Like this has to happen before this time happens, before this gets here. Like, I don't really know what it is, but I almost feel like that sense of it feeling like a race towards something. Okay. But I don't know exactly. I feel like this is more of a perspective thing as well, that when you start to look at it and you have all these different timing standards of like when things should happen or how long things should take, or if it hasn't happened by this time, then it's a failure. And so I just want you to start to dive in and think about timing, because I think that a lot of the pressure that you're putting on yourself and a lot of the things that you're chalking up to be failures are really coming from these elements of how you're seeing timing and how you're equating your success with things happening at a certain time. So that's one thing I really, really want you to dive deeper into. And the purpose part, I know that a lot of people, they feel like they know their purpose, and you're making yourself crazy. Yeah, that's a big thing for you to dig into then. I know a lot of times people are like, yeah, I know my purpose and I really want to help people. I want to make a difference. And usually it's much, much deeper than that. Like it goes to many layers below that, to where it really gets to the core of what you're about. And really what I believe is like your mission, what you're uniquely here to do and to bring to the world. And so I want you to dive much deeper into that, because I feel like when you start to understand that more about yourself, then it actually starts to make the decisions much easier, including the decisions of like, do I keep going on this path, or do I like chalk it up and just like start over again? So I think that I don't know exactly how it's connected, but I do think that that is connected for you. So thank you. Okay. So next up is Rosina. Okay. Rosina on Facebook. Hi, Rosina. How are you? How do I make this comment smaller? I expanded it somehow, but well, we're just going to leave it like that because I'm not sure. Okay. Oh, is it not Rosina? It's Rhiannon. Okay. So Chelsea, I'm seeing a few people. I'm seeing Rosina and then Rhiannon. Who is it? Is it Rosina? Okay, Rosina. Thank you. I wanted to make sure because they both had names that were ours, that I wasn't mixing it up. Okay. Rosina on Facebook. Okay. So I wanted to share with you guys as well a training that I created, and it's specifically for people that are either starting a business for the first time or they're considering it, that there's a part of them that's like, yes, I want that, but who am I to do that? That there's sort of this torn feeling, as well as for those of you that you have some kind of business thing going, but then you're kind of not really sure if it's like your thing, if it's like your thing that's like really fulfilling you, that you love. So Chelsea's going to post a link for you. It's going to be a replay link of something that's pre-recorded, since I'm moving towards getting some glitches out of the live ones that I'm doing. But yeah, like check that out if that resonates, or share it. And there's some special things that I share in that training, and it's pretty quick. It's like 35 minutes. So Chelsea has that link. I'm calling it the 5 secrets to finally starting your dream business. So the links will be coming up on both sides on YouTube. And then Chelsea, if we can make sure we get Caitlin somewhere in the queue as well, because Caitlin was here last week and she wasn't able to get in. So I want to make sure we could try to fit Caitlin in if we can. Okay, Rosina. Okay. Okay. Rosina, is there something that you're waiting on right now? Like, I just get this sense of waiting, and it does feel like your energy feels very clear, and there's a like calmness that comes in with you. But is there some kind of thing that you're waiting on? Because I almost feel like the feeling that I get is sort of like a clock ticking, like watching a clock ticking, but I don't see you doing it impatiently. So I guess my interpretation of it is that there's a waiting right now. So I guess I'm curious about that. I pulled a card for you that's talking about what's really important for you to remember right now. And it's talking about, it's this Ace of Air card, about brilliant ideas and inspirations, seeing the truth of a situation, that there could be things that start off in a challenging way, but then it feels like they sort of smooth out and you sort of get your groove going with it. So I'll show you this card. It's interesting because I'm getting something about, I'm like really tuning in here to like your roots and something to do with your family. You are waiting for something at the moment. Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't know, I'm not getting business vibes from this as much, but honestly, like anything else going on in our lives will always impact our business, and it's always interconnected. But there's something here that's coming in around family, and I don't know if that's related to what you're waiting for, but I do see you and your role within the family as being almost like this stabilizing force that sort of holds things together, like that you tend to be like people's rock or the person that people go to. I think that role for you feels like it can be a little challenging at times, or that almost like that you don't see yourself that way at certain times. But yeah, it's definitely a lot coming in around family. It's interesting because the last thing that I had said before I pulled this second card for you, Rosina, was that there's times where you don't see yourself like that. And so this other card coming in, this Queen of Air card, is talking a lot about really stepping into this power, that there's this way that other people see you that you don't always see as yourself as. And so it's talking about clearing away everything that no longer serves you. And I just noticed I want to take my hand and sweep it away, because whatever it is that you're waiting on right now, I see that there's this opportunity for growth and learning, and that the reason that it hasn't happened yet is that there's this opportunity and this chance for you to grow from the way that things currently are, and that the other thing doesn't really come in and happen until this growth takes place. Would that make sense? Because I do feel like a lot of times people say a lot of great things about you, and they see you as this like powerful, like independent, awesome person, but that it feels like there's a lot of times lately where you're questioning that, where you're really not like owning the fullness. It's not to say that you have low self-esteem by any means, but that there's really like this greater thing out there for you. And I just feel like the thing that you need to remember is starting to hold yourself and see yourself in that bigger way, in that greater way, because that's it's not it's not your time anymore to be small. You're done with that. That's not serving you anymore. So I feel like that's very connected to the business, but there's something going on with family as well that's coming into play. I don't know if there's something that you do with business that involves family, but those are the two things that I'm getting for you. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Rosita. Okay. Okay, so we have... Okay. So Hoste Financiers. Can I call you Haas for short? Is that okay? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but that's good. Okay. So you were saying, how can I get venture capital in a film production company that hasn't started? I'm 18. It doesn't have to be venture capital. I need money. Okay. I'm going to give you a general reading about abundance and how to think about money, but it's not going to be in the way where I'm like, well, you're going to meet a man on September 23rd and it's in a greenhouse. It's not going to be like that kind of reading, but it's really going to be, it's bigger picture than that. It's really going to be, how do you set yourself up to align yourself with the energy to start finding that capital to make that money? So I'm just prefacing it with that before I give you your card. Interesting. So you actually got a card that's come up once earlier this night. And it's very much tied to abundance. Okay. Well, I'm going to read you about abundance, and I'm going to, you kind of get the information the way that I receive it. So, yeah, that's what we're doing here. So it's this King of Earth card. And it was actually one of the cards that came up in the first reading for Susan. And it's talking about a successful time, accepting opportunities that you're offered, and the Midas touch. And so this card is very much aligned with abundance. And the Midas touch, it's interesting. It's sort of everything that you touch turning to gold, right, is the Midas touch. And so I do think that while what I want to point out right now is you're focusing on the how, right? And you just even highlighted it. It's jumping out at me. I want to know how, right? So we always want to know the how, because whenever it comes to business and money, we always want certainty. We want a matter of fact. We want to have a strategy. And I always actually feel like the how is usually the thing that gets in your way the most, because the how can shut you off from many different things, right? Like the how keeps you focused in your conscious mind, which is only 10% of your overall brain power, which really disconnects you from connecting with your own wisdom, intuition, the things that are going to give you that amazing idea out of nowhere that is exactly whatever answer you're wanting with the venture capital stuff. So I actually want you to let go of the how right now. And I know that that's going to be hard and it feels counterintuitive for you to do it that way. But I actually just want you to focus on the what. I want you to focus on what you want and visualizing and being grateful for already having that venture capital, and not actually caring how it comes to you or who it comes to you through, but that this is just kind of more your energy aligning so that this can happen and this can flow to you. I actually feel like, I think that you don't know that you do this already, that you're actually good at this. But I think if you actually start to look at examples in your own life, you'll see that things are very true here with this. So what I'm saying, if you look back at past examples that you've seen when success and money has come to you easily, that this has been the case. So one thing that might be really good and interesting for you is there's a, here, I'm going to type it to you right now because it's someone's YouTube channel that I recommend a lot. And it's Doxy Meditations. This is something I've used, and it's the, he calls it the 30-day manifest challenge. Okay. One thing that everyone should know about me is because you're focusing on the how and the doing, and as a society, like as a human species, we tend to be very focused on the how and the doing, but I bring the energetic side in because oftentimes that's what we need to be more in balance. So you actually strike me as a person when I'm reading you that actually feels very action oriented. You have your lists, like you're definitely that like high achiever, like A-type person. But I feel like the thing that really gives you the edge is that when you start to grasp these energetic pieces, you're 18 years old. So it's like if you can start to grasp some of these concepts of law of attraction and understanding how your energy aligns with what you're creating in your reality, you're going to be so ahead of the game if you figure that out at 18. So I just want you to know that it's like when you get yourself into that mode, right, of seeing things as if they've already happened, and you get yourself in that energetic state of just knowing you're going to get the financing. Of course, you're going to get the financing. That's when synchronicities and things start happening and you're no longer working uphill, that it's more like this flow of downhill where, wow, like that's so interesting that someone that I met randomly at the gym just happened to give me this great idea or had this connection. So I'm never one to really try to convince you of that. But if you're coming to me and you're on this reading, right, like I'm going to point you in the direction of that, and just to let you know that, like, yes, it feels good, but like let's let go of the how, let's let go of the doing side of it, and let's bring yourself into balance by really just trusting, right, and doing that meditation. If you want to add a little extra, and you do go to the gym, okay, yeah, I'm not surprised. You seem like someone that goes to the gym. Like I said, you're a high achiever. But yeah, it's not to say that like you never have to take actions, but I think for you that you actually get more tuned into your intuition. And I think you've been noticing those intuitive hits, even though you're not using that word, come in even more, but you let that inform the action, and it starts to be this action from this intuitive, wise place. So that's what's really amping you up. So trust in that. Okay. So we're going to go to Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. So I think you just want a general career reading. So I'm just going to like pull a couple cards and see what we're getting for you. Okay. So initially, Caitlin, there's like a few things that I'm feeling. Is there, it feels like the lifestyle or that there's like this life and career thing where it's like not necessarily meshing the way that you wanted it to. And it's, I'm feeling like a little bit of dissatisfaction, lack of fulfillment around career, like almost like a sadness that's coming in. Would that ring true for you? But I also feel that you have this like commitment to it, that it's hard for you to walk away from it. So I want to see what the cards are saying as well. But I guess I'm just curious if initially that's ringing true for you around career. Okay. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Like, I have that feeling that like my nose is running and I'm like on camera live. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I have boogers like coming out of my nose that people can see? Like, or does it just feel like it? So I just need to wipe my nose. Okay. And if I ever did have boogers, you guys better tell me. Because I'd be really bummed out if you guys didn't tell me. Okay, so 2 cards came for you, Caitlin. The 7 of Water card, it's talking about a complicated decision, that there's times that you're procrastinating on making the decision, and that there is a need for you to do some research. And because it's a water card as well, the water cards have to do very much with emotion. And what I'm getting for you when I talk about research, like, I almost see you doing one kind of research, like on the surface level above the water, so to speak, that you're sort of like looking and researching like other careers that have transferable skills or things that you might like. Like I see you sort of like reading job descriptions or looking at things in that way. But I feel like there's also this like research within yourself of this time of getting to know who you are now, because I feel like for you, and yes, like I do feel like there's I feel like there's, at least the energy that I'm feeling, it kind of feels like there's a switch or a big change, or a remolding, right? It might be some of similar elements of your experience and education, but I do feel like this change coming in, or at least this clarification. And when I'm talking about this diving deep into emotion, it's really like getting to know who you are now, what you value in terms of what are the things that really satisfy you and fulfill you. Like if you're living your life fully expressing who you are, what are the things that have to be honored in your career? Okay. And so I feel like when you're asking about, do I continue teaching or take the other path? I feel like for you, it's doing that deep internal dive of looking at what I call the building blocks, which is your purpose, your purpose and your why, your and your values, which are, again, kind of these qualities and aspects of a life fully lived. Because whenever we hit against a wall with career fulfillment, it's usually because one or both of those things are being stepped on. And I almost like don't want you to like fully commit to a choice, like another make a decision until you're really clear on those things, because I feel like sometimes when we make a change without being really clear on those really critical parts of ourself, that sometimes we end up feeling the same way a few years from now. So I just want you to look at that first. The other thing is talking about embracing change, expecting that things will get better now. It's talking about recovering from an addiction, but it could be an addiction of many different things, even like an addiction to a certain type of thinking, like certain thoughts or belief systems, right? That can be addicting for us to think about. And I do just get the sense right now that, so I want you to listen to what I'm saying very clearly, definitely with the first part, that you need to get clear on your purpose, your why, your values, because that informs this path. That's your answer with, do I continue teaching or take the other path? Or is there some combined path that I haven't even thought about? That's going to open up a lot for you. And while you're feeling kind of very lost and kind of stuck with what to do right now, I want to really iterate that I want you to know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, that everything that's happening in this exact way, it's supposed to be unfolding like this. So while you feel like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here, like I need to know where I'm supposed to go next so I can keep moving forward, that you are very much supposed to be here and that things are supposed to happen like this. So I just want you to have to kind of take a breath and to find some joy with where you're at in the moment, of knowing that also this is exactly where you're supposed to be, is at this choice point, that everything has led you here. Okay. So Chelsea, are you picking for me next? Thanks, Caitlin. I hope that helps. Okay. All right. She's pinning for me like who we're going to next. So two other reminders. So NCH Boba from YouTube. I'm not just on YouTube, I'm on Facebook as well. So there's sort of like a bigger queue outside of just YouTube. So we're sort of jumping around at this point. We just go to who we can. Once we get a certain number of people on, we go to as many people as we can. As Chelsea is pinning for me who's next, I'll tell you guys tomorrow on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed over there, please subscribe. I am posting my video of how to do a business reading for yourself. So if you have your own deck of cards or you do readings for other people, I'm posting the layout so that you can actually start to use it and do your own readings with all the 9 different aspects of a full business reading. And Chelsea, if you can also post my link, I have a free training about the 5 secrets to really just starting your dream business and finally actually making it happen and getting it off the ground. So she'll post that link for you guys. Okay, Sharon. Sharon is next. I'm trying to figure out what I should do next. I've been serving for a living over a decade. I still need to figure out what to do next to increase income, but I still want to serve. Okay. Sharon. I came from the restaurant industry too. I served for a long time before doing other restaurant stuff. So I'm a restaurant person too. So Sharon, I'm just going to call you Sharon Lewis in my mind. Okay, I'm going to pull one card just so I can try to get to as many of you as possible. Okay, and then NCH. Okay. Okay. Okay, so right now, Sharon, the card that's coming up for you is this Knight of Earth card. I specifically pulled a card for you around abundance, and it's talking about that it's time to buckle down and get things done and to honor your commitments. So I do feel like you're balancing a lot. Like, I don't know what else you do in addition to work, but I just get a feeling that, like, in addition to work, that there's a lot of other things that you're balancing in life. And I know as well that it's hard for you, that there's a lot of things that you've been wanting to do for yourself for a while, that you've been like kind of carrying this dream for a while, but you haven't quite gotten to the point of doing it. I almost feel like you haven't even said it out loud. And you don't have to say it out loud for me and for everyone on Facebook, but is there like what I would call like a pipe dream, like one of those like kind of outrageous dreams that you tend to know about, that you don't really share with people or talk about? Just like a simple yes or no, because I do feel like there's something that you don't speak about or talk about, but that it's almost like something that you think is like so outrageous. Does that make sense to you? Yes. Okay. Because that's the thing that I feel like they're pointing you towards. The other thing I find really interesting is that this card is talking about you having a guardian angel, that there's someone in spirit. I'm trying to see if I could feel into who it is. I don't do a lot of mediumship stuff, but just more kind of general. Okay. It's feeling like it's a friend that passed. I was trying to differentiate if it was like friend or family, but it does feel like it's somebody that you knew here, like on the earth plane, like that was a friend that's passed, that's coming forward to help you with this. So I don't know if that happened to be like somebody that you were open enough about to talk about these things, or if it was somebody that maybe kind of inspired that or that would understand that. But I do feel like there's someone that you have in spirit that is actually trying to step forward and help you with this stuff, but that you haven't yet asked them for their help. So I do want you to start asking for the help, like specifically say, I want to make this happen. Like, show me ideas, show me inspiration of how I could actually do this. So while I know that right now you're probably thinking like, okay, like that would be totally nuts for me to do that bigger pipe dream. That feels totally impossible. I do feel like the essence of it and what it's really about for you is the thing that you need to start moving towards, and that it doesn't have to be like fully uprooting and quitting everything that you do, but that once you really kind of boil it down to, I feel like I want to say distill it down to the essence of what it's really about, which ends up giving you information about your purpose, is that you actually will start to see ways in which you can start doing that now and blending it now, because anytime we're dealing with purpose, there's many different vehicles and paths to do it and to honor it. So I want you to focus on that. Thank you, Sharon. Okay. And Sharon, I think you would get a lot out of that training that Chelsea posted the link to, because I feel like it's very timely for what you're talking about right now. So scroll up and watch that training, because it's going to talk about some of this stuff, which really applies to you. Okay. So Boba NCH, I'm just going to call you Boba because that feels better. I'm pitching my idea. How can I make sure my ideas don't get copied? What sort of businesses and careers do you see me making? Okay. Okay. Boba. Yeah, we don't go in a general order. We sort of go, we hop around a little bit. Okay, Boba. So just based on what you're saying to me, I just want to point out the energy of that, specifically when you're saying, how can I make sure that my ideas don't get copied? So specifically, since I really want to point out like the energetic sort of undertones of everything, that's very much aligned with scarcity, that when you start to think about things in terms of there's only so many ideas, or that this fear-based thinking of like, well, what if people are going to take it? And I know that well, we're talking about the energy right now, so just you're gonna get whatever I'm receiving. So of course there's always many different aspects, but I'm gonna give you the aspect that I feel like you're not seeing, that you're missing, that you need to focus on. Okay. So with the way that you're talking about these what ifs, that you're like looking for ideas about kind of what if this happens, and there's nothing that's happened like that, I want you to know that your inner critic seems to be really running the show right now and kind of planting these seeds of doubt, fear, uncertainty. And if you're making all of your business decisions based on fear and uncertainties and what ifs, that it really doesn't open you to other possibilities. So that's the first thing that I want to point out. The other thing that's coming up, it's this Magician card. It's talking about you're ready, you have the resources to manifest them, that life is magical. So it's interesting because while you don't want to hear about the energy, the card that's coming forward for you is talking about manifesting. So clearly the universe wants you to really get in with this. You've kind of landed yourself on a reading, and while this might not fully be your thing, that's okay. I do feel like your growth right now, your opportunity right now in terms of what's in front of you is really understanding and mastering that within yourself, because this is sort of, I feel like the ground floor, if we were to make it a metaphor, that ends up driving different ideas and actions and decisions, right? Since everything that you're talking about in terms of pitching your ideas and different things, I feel like it's all going to start on an energetic level, and then it comes out from there. I feel like you're asking like 3 different questions, and I don't have time to go through each of them. In terms of business and career, yeah. So I'll tell you as well, because I think oftentimes we like to come to readings like this because we feel like other people have better answers than we do, that we don't have our best answer. But even when I'm coaching, because the reading thing is like a thing that I do that I enjoy, and the coaching thing as well, like I really root myself in that we actually all have our own best answers and our own best insight, and that we remove power from ourselves when we feel like we can't trust our own insight and our own wisdom, or that other people know more than we do. And so it's interesting because this other card that I pulled for you is also talking about a similar thing. It's actually talking about allowing yourself time to sometimes just rest and go within, allowing yourself to a little bit more time before making decisions, and that you should be meditating as well. And so anytime that a card like this is coming up, I feel like everything that this is pointing towards is that because you're sort of like listing like 5 different questions on here, which we don't have time to go into 5 questions for these like short little readings like this, but that I just feel like you're being pointed back to yourself and your own inner knowing and your own inner resources to tap into wisdom, because I don't think that you're relying on that enough and giving that enough value. And while I know that that's not what you want to hear and that's not what you're looking for, that's what's coming through for you. And I feel like that's sort of the bigger opportunity for you right now to start seeing and recognizing. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So we are at 8 Pacific right now, and I will be here next week. We'll be here on Monday, and I know that I'm thankful that so many of you guys hop on. I know that we can't always get to all of you in an hour, but I will be back next Monday, and I hope that you guys join me. And again, I have my my video going live tomorrow that actually gives the layout. If you guys want to pull cards for yourself, and it's 9 different aspects in this specific business tarot layout, you can pull cards, especially if you weren't able to go tonight. You could have your friend pull cards for you, whoever you go to for pulling cards. You guys can use the layout, because I just want you to have this layout that I've intentioned so that you have access to starting to pull these for yourself more often. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys very much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.